Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing a very interesting sci-fi book that I picked up on a whim and read. I mostly picked it up because of the cover. It is High Times in Low Parliament by Kelly Robson. I had not read anything by Kelly Robson before reading this book, so I went in without knowing anything about the book or anything about the author. The cover just appealed to me and I decided that it might be an interesting book to check out and read, and if I didn't like it, it was pretty short, so I wasn't going to be out too much. It's about 150 pages. So went in without any knowledge or any expectations, and I have to say, I'm not entirely sure I liked this book. So the main character in this book is Lana Baker, who is essentially in medieval Europe, sort of, but it's in Fantasyland, so everything is slightly off. She is a little bit of a romantic, a little bit of a flirt, maybe more than a little bit of a flirt. And due to her philandering, I'm not sure exactly what we should call it, due to her incessant need to flirt at any and all occasions, she gets drafted through a series of events to attend Parliament. So Parliament is a European-wide or fantasy Europe-wide Parliament where decisions need to be made. And in this fantasy world, there are also fairies. Fairies are overseeing the Parliament. Everyone else is human, so Lana is a human. And important to note, I also think there are no men in this world. At least no men are ever mentioned in any capacity. Everyone seems to be women. So all these women, all these human women are living in this fantasy Europe, and representatives have to attend Parliament and they have to pass laws for how Europe is going to be run. They have to make decisions, kind of like how Parliament works. That's why it's called that. And Lana gets hired or gets conscripted to go and serve because she is a scribe. So she has a skill set, she can be a scribe, so she can take notes during the session. While there, she is under the minding or the instruction or her boss is this fairy named Bugbite, who she's kind of initially clashes with, but eventually starts to get along. And the problem in the story is that the fairies are kind of sick of the humans' antics. The humans are always bickering, they can't agree, there's always a hung vote. And so if the humans can't agree, the fairies are going to flood Parliament, kind of wipe it clean in a Noah's flood sort of way, and restart. So there's this immense pressure to start agreeing, but the humans are not agreeing. And Lana's on the outside just watching this whole thing, having to write. She cannot be released from Parliament. This Parliament's kind of in this trapped area where you can't escape from, and she might be killed if people that she has no control over can't come to an agreement. While there, she also starts falling in love with one of the representatives on the floor named Eloquentia, and she has this burning desire after seeing her dance to meet her and start a relationship with her. So that's where I'm going to leave the summary of the plot. But overall, I just could never get into this book. I wanted to like it because I liked the concept. I felt like it could be interesting. I almost wonder if this is a book where maybe it could have been better if the book had been longer. Sometimes I read books and think that could be shorter. That could have been a shorter book. But this book, I feel like maybe it should have been a longer book. I think maybe if this book was 300 pages and we could flesh out people's relationships or their motivations, I might be more inclined to agree, because I didn't particularly feel bad for Lana or any situation she found herself in. She seemed to be the kind of person who doesn't know when it's an appropriate time to flirt with other people. Maybe it's not an appropriate time when death is on your steps. Maybe it's time to focus on something more. She seems to just continually put herself in situations that are troublesome, but she also doesn't seem to complain about it too much, so maybe that's a good thing. She doesn't complain about situations or problems that she made herself, but I didn't find her very sympathetic, because I was like, oh, you're in this problem, in this situation. I also think that as the story wore on, there were romantic overtones with Bugbite that I didn't realize were supposed to be there, and I never felt like there was any indication of that. I felt like her relationship with Bugbite seemed to be very, very friendly and not romantic. So as it went on, not very friendly, but they had a close relationship. I didn't realize it was like a romantic sort of relationship, and in the last few pages I felt like that was implied, and I felt like it was something that I had missed. I did not really understand the ending or how the romance plot tied in. I also never really felt like we were in danger. No one seemed to act like they were in danger. No one seemed to be in fear of their life for real. Like in reality, no one seemed to fear for their life, and Lana always at all times is just thinking about how she can, it's never this explicit, but how she can get in bed with the next person. That's the only thing Lana is ever thinking about, ever. And I think you could take the horniest, like, teenage boy with like so many hormones throwing through your system, and I think there are still times when you can get that individual to focus on something else. Like if your death was imminent, there might be something else to think about. And so the fact that Lana just cannot seem to focus on anything else makes her feel very unbelievable. She feels very forced and not how anyone would actually act. You can have a big flirt, you can have someone who is a little bit of a romantic, you could have someone who's madly in love with someone else, or someone who's crushing hard on someone else and that person would still, or should still, have situations in which that is not the main priority, or that every single person that Lana interacts with is also apparently a romance interest. That was something else that bothered me. Every single person Lana interacted with seemed to be, unless it was a much older woman like a shopkeeper or her mother, seems to be become an object of romance, which I also didn't like. So overall, I did not like Lana, and because I didn't like Lana, and there's so few other characters in the book, and the other named characters are objects of romantic affection, I didn't like this book at all. I didn't care for it. I felt like I liked the idea of it, but I never got into the plot. So this is a rare book that I would probably rate below 3 stars. I rarely rate books below 3 stars because normally if I dislike a book, I stop reading it. I don't have time. There's plenty of good books in the world that I enjoy, so why would I continue to read something I dislike unless I'm reading it specifically for like book club or reading challenge. This book, by the time I kept waiting for something to happen because I thought maybe something interesting would happen, and I liked what I thought was the friendship between her and Bugbite. But then when we got to the last 10 pages, I didn't like the conclusion, I didn't like the ending, I didn't like the way things resolved, I didn't like this romance thing that happened, I didn't like anything from about the last 25 pages, and for that reason, I would give it like a 2.5 star because I felt like there was potential, and the potential was not executed on. That being said, I'm not giving up on Kelly Robson. I think that although this book didn't work for me, I did kind of like her writing style, so I would read more things by Kelly Robson, and I actually have another one of hers. I think it's an anthology or a collection of short stories on my to-read list right now, so it's not that I'm opposed to her writing or her writing style doesn't work for me. I think this book and this main character didn't work for me, and I could be persuaded to read more stuff from her in the future. So if you read High Times and Low Parliament by Kelly Robson, please let me know what you thought about this book. Please let me know if you think I am way off base. I'm not opposed to people having different opinions on books I read. If you think this was a fantastic book, let me know what you liked. Let me know what worked for you. I would love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.